Have you ever had to repeat yourself at least 2 or 3 times in a single conversation? It's frustrating, isn't it? Well, every time I visit my 86-year-old grandma, we have the same conversation 6, 7 times. It's quite depressing, and that's because of her Alzheimer's disease. Today, I'm going to inform you about the new advancement in growing brain cells that scientists Madeleine Lancaster and Jürgen Leach have discovered. And they grow brain cells, mainly neurons, and they make 3D models which will give them a better understanding of how neurological disorders work. So this is important to you because the National Institute of Aging estimate that around 5 million Americans suffer from Alzheimer's disease, and a report from the World Health Organization in 2013 said that neurological disorders affect up to 1 billion people worldwide. So obviously, chances are you know someone that's affected by one. The good news is that through reading a MIT Tech review online and then through further research, I have found and come across the 3D brain cells, and it's actually in action today. So in order to understand and be more knowledgeable about what these cells do and what they are, I'll talk about 3 things. First being the role of brain cells and the cause of neurological disorders. Secondly, I'll go and talk about the science behind growing these brain cells, and thirdly, I'll talk to you a bit about how scientists are currently using them at the moment to try and unlock the mysteries behind neurological disorders. Firstly, I'll discuss the structure and function of the brain cells. So, as you've all probably seen in science class, this is a simple neuron, which is one of the most common brain cells. It contains cell body, which has the nucleus in there, which is the control center of the cell. It has dendrites, which receive messages from other cells, similar to this one, and it has axon, which contains a message of that cell. So normal cells contain these 3 things, and down the bottom here we've got 2 different neurons. The one on the left is a healthy neuron that works perfectly fine, and on the right is one that is been the victim of Alzheimer's disease, and it's aged a bit there, and you can tell the difference between the 2. Neurons can be damaged in a few different ways. The National Library of Medicine online article talks about they can be damaged through trauma, aging, and different other health issues, or also electrochemical and structural disruptions in the brain. Now I've given you a brief understanding of neurons and the causes of neurological disorders. Let's have a look at the new method of growing 3D cells and the impact it has. So over on the left are the 2 scientists that discovered the process. It offers better research into brain cells because before scientists could only look at animal brain cells or those of the deceased, so it doesn't give a clear picture as this does. So it's called the mini brain, is what they call it. So essentially what's happening is, so Dr. Howard Fine, Deputy Director of New York University's Cancer Center, he explained this how they create the brain cells in a 2015 CNN article. So first of all, they take a skin cell, they play around with it genetically. The full description of how they play around with it is pretty complicated, so I'll not go into that. After that, they bathe it in a blood-like solution, which you can see just there. So they do that for about 3 weeks at a temperature of 98 degrees Fahrenheit, which then creates, I don't know if you can see it in there, there's a small brain-like structure which they say is about the size of a 20-month fetus. So that's pretty extraordinary for research. Some people argue that it's not ethical because it seems like they're growing a brain that would be fully functioning, but it actually doesn't think and it isn't fully functioning, so there's no ethical boundaries there. So now that we've talked about the function of neurons, the causes of neurological disorders, and the new advancement that's been made, let's see how they've put it to practice. So there's at least 3 doctors that have been using this technology. So Dr. Fine, who I mentioned earlier, who gave us a description of how they are made, he specialises in brain cancer. So he uses these cells to try and find out and give him the answer to brain cancer so he can try and cure that. Then in a 2015 article on the University of Yale website, Dr. Flora Vasarino, a researcher in central nervous system. She's also using this method of growing brain cells to try and find a cure for autism. And then there's Renee Anand from Ohio State, who says that this is the most complete model that scientists have found of being able to understand the full brain. And he's also using the structure to try and find a cure or prevention for Alzheimer's. So today I've explained to you the simple structure of neurons and the causes of neurological disorders, the new growing methods of growing brain structures, and why it's exciting for us because we can cure or hopefully prevent neurological disorders in the future, and how scientists are already using this to try and unlock mysteries surrounding disorders such as Alzheimer's, even Tourette's, and autism. So I believe this is important to you because, as I mentioned at the beginning, the World Health Organization said that neurological disorders affect 1 billion people worldwide. So hopefully this new technology can cut that down. Thank you.